Have you ever wanted to be the first to know if aliens really exist? Well, with Nebula, you can be! Nebula is the streaming service that's home to It's Probably Not Aliens, as well as our YouTube channels. And the best part? All of our content goes up early on Nebula. So when we break first contact with ET, you'll be the first to find out. That's right, you'll be able to listen to the next episode of this show before anyone else. Plus, we post bonus content that you won't find any other place. And the best part? By signing up for Nebula at nebula.tv/probablynotaliens, you're directly supporting the show and both of us. So don't wait any longer. Join Nebula today and be the first to know if this time it really is aliens. This is like one of the number one pieces of like millennial Canadian nostalgia. For some reason, I linked you the playlist instead of the video that I was looking for.
You, in this doc that you've sent me, that is supposed to be, I guess, about angels and linguistics and things like that, the very first thing is this YouTube playlist link that has videos uploaded. Almost all of these are uploaded 16 years ago. One of them was 17 years ago. One of them was 19 years ago.
These are also commercials from the 1990s.
When YouTube was just started, someone was like, I gotta archive these.
Yeah.
I gotta get on this.
So
what am I looking at?
I put a new link in the chat right underneath it, and that's the one that I want to link to. And this is how I became a like person who cannot take anything as real. And I feel like the fact that this was a common commercial for Canadian children is one of the number one things that separates Canadians and Americans when it comes to like the way that we interact with media and the way that we interact with like news and propaganda. So I want you to watch this, but for the Canadians who are listening to this,
Okay.
This is the House Hippo commercial.
The House Hippo. All right, I'm trying to route it. Let me know if you can hear this.
It's nighttime in a kitchen just like yours. All is quiet. Or is it? The North American house hippo is found throughout Canada and the eastern United States. House hippos are very timid creatures and are rarely seen, but they will defend their territory if provoked. They come out at night to search for food, water, and materials for their nests. The favorite foods of the house hippo are chips, raisins, and the crumbs from peanut butter on toast. They build their nests in bedroom closets, using lost mittens, dryer lint, and bits of string. The nests have to be very soft and warm. House hippos sleep about 16 hours a day.
That looked really real, but you knew it couldn't be true, didn't you? That's why it's good to think about what you're watching on TV and ask questions, kind of like you just did. A message from Concerned Children's Advertisers.
So that...
I just thought it was a fun, silly thing. And then they're like, actually, you idiot, ask questions about what you watch on TV.
Now, Concerned Children's Advertisers did a bunch, like there was like, I'm sure that America had its decent, like, you know, don't do drugs PSAs and stuff like that when you were kids. But ours went hard in like a weird way. There's another one from the War Amps, which I don't think is a charity in America. But the War Amps, they like they help like amputees with like prosthetics and like kind of adjustments and stuff like that.
Okay.
And they had a robot named Astar from the planet Danger, and he would always do a bunch of stunts and then get one of his like limbs sawed off, and then would put it back on. It's like, I'm a robot. I can put my arms back on. You can't, so play safe.
Oh my God.
It's like, yeah.
Some grim stuff here. So this is how you became you. This is how Tristan became Tristan.
That's how I became me. The house hippo broke me in the fact that I can't believe anything that I see anymore.
Because here's what I'll say. The video was uploaded 16 years ago, but obviously this is, as you say, a commercial from the 90s.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
They did such a good job genuinely making it look good and real. Like it was live action footage of hippos, just tiny little hippos in a house just wandering around like they're a rodent that might live in your house. It looks pretty good. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this. At the time we're recording this, recently saw the newest Marvel movie, and there's some pretty rubbery CGI in there. This house hippo looks a lot better than that. It's probably because it wasn't CGI. It's probably because it was just like real footage of hippos. But still, pretty good stuff.
If this had aired in America in the 90s, the president of the United States would be like, we have directed the entire military to find and eliminate the house hippo once and for all.
What are we doing about yes and this bit? They are way more dangerous.
Hi everybody, it's Max, one of the editors. A rat got into the house and chewed the audio file, which is what you just heard. I do apologize. I'll try to be better next time.
They kill a lot of people.
I believe it.
They're like they're so dangerous. Yeah, I had a friend who, she grew up in South Africa and got chased by one. It's like one of the most terrifying events of her life.
I believe it.
Yeah. Also, they have pink milk.
Oh, okay. Strawberry milk.
That's where Strawberry Quick comes from, is hippos.
That's where it comes from, is hippos. I know the only other thing I know about hippos is that they are hungry. And that's my knowledge of them, of hippos.
There you go. So today's, so this is the first episode of the new kind of batch where we're digging into a new episode of It's Ancient Aliens. We also, if anyone hasn't picked up, this is our first time recording in like 11 months. So we're like...
They're not going to know that because there's going to be an episode before this, right? So
Yeah.
But this is the first one we're actually recording. Tristan and I haven't like seen each other in what feels like a year. It is...
Yeah, it's been insane.
It's been so long, and we're so sorry for the delay in episodes. We're both just adults with a lot of stuff on our plate right now. So thank you for being patient.
Yeah, I think I mentioned before the show started, this is my third work thing today.
Yeah,
at 8 p.m. Yeah, I've been at 3 different jobs today.
And I'll add to that, you picked this day to record. You said, how about this
This
day?
is one of my better days.
This was your better day to record, was when you already had 2 other work things.
Yeah.
That's how busy we are.
Now, I think we need to start by asking you, because you, as we established on this show, but we need to reestablish because we don't know when people start.
Mm-hmm.
Tristan Johnson, that's me.
That's you.
I guess we should probably say that this is a podcast called
I was gonna wait for you to finish your initial thought before I was gonna be like, actually, Tristan, I think we should start by introducing ourselves.
Yeah, well, let's go with that.
Yeah, fair enough. I think we should start by introducing ourselves, Tristan. My name is Scott Nicewander. I am the host of this show that knows nothing. That's all I know. I told you everything I know about hippos. That's what we're working with.
So much so you forgot the name, because this is a podcast called It's Probably Not Aliens, where we debunk ancient astronauts, ancient aliens,
we are
and
so rusty.
Sci-fi adjacent conspiracy theories.
Yep.
I'm Tristan Johnson. I am the abyss that stares back. And
That's true.
I have a what's it called? I have a new T-shirt that arrived that I like a lot that has a frog on it that says, "The horrors are unending, yet I am still silly." Or yet I remain silly, and I think that feels like that should be my shirt.
That is you.
That should be my catchphrase.
That is you.
But today we are dealing this next batch of episodes. We have about 8 that we're doing. This is 2 of 8. So we're gonna have to confront something that I think that we revisit time and time again, but it's always relevant when we talk about this. So Tristan Johnson, that's me.
That's you.
Did not grow up with religion. Still to this day, as of now, I'm like 37. I want to say that's how old I am. As of 36. Mm-hmm. I'm 36 still.
Wow. Okay.
I'll be 37 in November.
This is how rusty we are.
Yeah.
We've forgotten our own ages.
Yeah. As a 36-year-old, I still have never been to church, like for the sit down, sing songs, and do whatever. By the way, congratulations on having a fucking Chicago Pope. The Chicago Pope, it sounds pretty good.
God, it's been so long since we've caught up, Tristan.
I mean, that happened like 2 weeks ago. But
as of recording, yeah.
But basically, for the record, everyone will know that I have no religious trauma because I had no religion growing up. Not that my parents were unbelievers, but they just never took religion too seriously. Now, Scott, you said you grew up in an evangelical situation. You went to Bible college and all sorts of more.
Very true.
So I want to know, I think this is a good way to start for getting us a baseline. because I don't know the like average Christian belief structure very well. And like, I honestly like,
Okay.
given like half the things that are in the Bible, I'm like, does the average Christian actually believe actually, like if you put a gun to their head and you're like, do you actually think that this is real? They would say yes or no. And this whole batch is about angels. And I have to be like,
Okay.
do Christians actually believe in angels?
Great question. You're in search of an average Christian viewpoint. You're not going to get it from me, but I will let you know out all of the many things that I was told growing up, as well as in Bible college. And so I will give you a spread of what. First one is like, yes.
Winged people and all?
Winged people and all. They watch over people. They appear to people to deliver them, messages. Not necessarily as clear as the stories in the Bible, but maybe you hear angels singing when like you feel something calling to you, and you're like, I have to do this. I hear the angels singing. That's calling me. So that's one way.
That makes you buy the Philadelphia cream cheese thing.
Yes, yeah, for sure. And then that's one, and then on the other side of it is this idea of there are certain stories, like the broad strokes, the historical broad strokes of the Bible are true, is what people would believe on the other side. But the more mystical elements of it are stories that were written to try and get to impart some sort of moral message to people. And that's still like, and people would still call themselves Christians even if they didn't believe in like the big, angels and things like that. They'd be like, well, I think that was more like a metaphor for something. So it's hard to be like, what does the average one believe? Because it's all over.
Yeah, there's like, there's billions of those guys, those Christians.
Yeah.
It's literally the biggest religion. Okay. So then like, it ranges from everywhere. Like it's a metaphor to like, no, I actually believe in like angels as described in the Philadelphia cream cheese commercial.
Yes, I would say in my experience, where I grew up and how I grew up, the most people believed it to be a real thing. It wasn't until I went to Bible college that it was like, here are other beliefs that people might have about it, that you might have about it. And that was more challenging, which I was like, that's interesting. I never thought of it that way.
Now, do they lean heavier on angels as winged dude or inhuman monster made of wheels, fire, and eyes?
I think it honestly depends on the story. I think there are certain stories where it is like an angel might appear in human form or even like in animal form, I think, in some regards, some stories. But then there are definitely some where they do describe like the biblically accurate angel of like lots of eyes and wings and wheels and things like that. I think we've talked about it on the show before, but like the number one like thing that angels tend to say when they appear, the first thing they say is, do not be afraid, because it's like, oh, you're terrifying. This is terrifying. Yeah. This thing in front of me.
That makes the hybrid, like the Nephilim, a lot more terrifying. Yeah. Okay. So what if it wasn't that aliens were, or what if it was gave away the game already? What if angels weren't somewhere between being a metaphor and being actual dudes who live in a cream cheese commercial, but were actually alien visitors that were misunderstood by primitive humans?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Soundboard still works.
I'm sure you're all going to be very shocked to know that the claim today is angels. What if they were aliens?
What if Well, this is breaking new ground.
What if they were aliens, though?
This is so new.
And the way that we've seen this is that they play with different translations and different like ideas of it. And we've seen this in things like the show Supernatural, but also and the real hardcore gamers are going to have to explain it in more detail. But I did find, I will get into later, but also Assassin's Creed plays with this idea a little bit.
Assassin's Creed. All right.
But
I know they Assassin's Creed taps into a lot of interesting stuff. There was a time, my friend in college, if anyone knows about me as a person and like the lore I have from other podcasts I did, my friend Bryce was super duper into Assassin's Creed, and so I tried to keep up. He tried to tell me the lore of Assassin's Creed, and it was so hard to follow. But
oh boy.
But hey, the more complicated the lore, the better the story is that's what I've learned as a comic book fan.
As a Star Trek fan, I 150% agree.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. The more convoluted and especially the more self-contradictory it is, the more stories you can tell.
Absolutely.
So
rules.
Yeah, so let's get into I want to go and break down what their actual belief is. This is what millions of people around the world believe.
That's right.
So in the Bible, but actually lots of like ancient texts, but mostly the Bible, but also like Babylonian stuff and all sorts of places, there's a lot of texts that describe messengers from heaven that seem to have a bunch of like, parallels in a bunch of different places that might have, as we know, ancient aliens, they don't think any civilization ever talked to each other. So they have this shows up over and over again. So some of the evidence you find is that in the Hebrew Bible, you hear about what we call angels, which were called the malak.
All right.
I'm sorry, Jews. That was my best Hebrew pronunciation. Then also in Greek, where our term comes from, angelos, which just means messenger, like a messenger from another world. Whoa, that's pretty. That's good. That's a real weed
from
thought
another
right
city, a city of angels, a Los Angeles.
Yeah, they took. Yeah, there's references in the Bible, in the book of Enoch and the book of Elijah, that reference people actually being taken to heaven. What if that was actually?
I knew it. I knew you were going to say abductions.
An abduction.
Good stuff.
Yeah, and that like things like the chariots of fire and the wheels within wheels in like the book of Ezekiel, which we did an episode about long time ago, are actually primitive attempts to describe spacecraft. And of course, multiple unconnected cultures have messenger beings that have eerie similarities to angels as we know of them today.
You know what? We talk about this a lot, but it's fun to get back on it. We haven't recorded it so long that I know people are like, "Oh, didn't you guys already talk about this?" And it's like, we have, but if Ancient Aliens gets to talk about the same dozen things for like 20 years, we get to also do that.
Yeah, and I put a little bit of a unique stank on it. So, we're doing some special stuff.
Of course, you always do.
Yeah.
You always do.
So I looked into the history. The history of the revelation of this begins with a friend of the show, Eric von Daniken.
Oh, boy. Now we're really back.
Yeah.
Now we're really back.
And then Eric von Daniken had his ideas inspired another writer that we've talked about on the show, Zecharia Sitchin. Of reptilian fame, of aliens love that sweet earth gold.
Yeah.
And then Zecharia Sitchin leads directly to History Channel's Ancient Aliens.
Oh boy.
So that's sort of the
we're struggling.
Oh, it's so true. Okay. So but before we dive into all of these claims, I want to tell you about the glorious word, the gospel, the good. Have you heard the good news of ads?
Have I heard the good news? We have a divine messenger coming our way, and it's called products or service.
Hey, you know that feeling of total exhaustion you get from being online? That sense of powerlessness against an endless wave of grifters and bad faith arguments? Well, that's by design. The whole environment of online spaces right now is engineered to make you feel angry and overwhelmed to increase engagement metrics. This is like not some conspiracy thing. They've literally said that anger is one of the most evocative emotions and helps with increasing engagement metrics, which means more ads, which means more revenue. But it also wears you down and reduces your ability to fight back against, well, gestures widely. And that's why we, at It's Probably Not Aliens, decided to build our own spaces. And it's one of the many, many reasons why this show is on Nebula. Nebula is a streaming service built and owned by me and a ton of other creators you already trust. Think of it as a curated library for thoughtful videos built from the ground up to be a better experience. It's a place for exclusive content without ads, designed to arm you with ideas, not exhaust you. It's also the single best way to support this show. As a thank you, all our podcast episodes go up a week early on Nebula, and we do an exclusive full-length Q&A episode there every single season. Now, for those of you who are in this for the long haul, I also want to mention the lifetime plan. The price for that just went up to $500, but our link still gets you lifetime access for $300. You pay once, and you are done. It's a huge way to support independent creators, and that's what we're building. Plus, if you're like me and tired of the subscriptions, this is a way to just pay once and never think about it again. You have Nebula forever. So whether you want to go monthly or join for life, turn that frustration into action. Start building something better with us. You can sign up at go.nebula.tv/probablynotaliens. The link is right there in the show notes. Join us. It's worth it.
Gosh, it's good to be back.
Yeah, I can see us starting to put the pieces together. We're getting there. We're getting back to podcast goodness, which is good because I'm actually doing a radio show in a couple weeks, so I have to really get myself warmed up for it.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited.
Let's start with the first claim, the whole thing about angelos and malak. So these are two claims of angels that have similar examples that, as we know, Greek myth has been a large inspiration for Christian iconography and stuff. So these two sort of stories comprise the main concept of angels as we know of them today under Christian tradition. And those are like the main ones to break down aliens. So the thing is, the big thing that they lean into in this one is this linguistic idea that by being messengers, the term messenger is the real thing that sticks out of them being actually this means like messenger from like space or something.
Gotcha.
And so let's break into it. So in Hebrew, malak. Okay. I'm just going to say it a bunch of different ways to see which one works out all right.
Yeah, that's fine. Just change it up a little each time. Land on something that feels right.
Yeah. That's how language works, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not a prescriptivist, so I could just pronounce anything however I want.
However you want.
So malak always specifically described a messenger of God in its complete context. So it doesn't just mean like messenger from above, messenger from space. Malak literally means messenger from God. And if you look to the record, there's some things that show distinct linguistic stuff that shows that, well, if it is aliens, it seems like you are stretching out or you're scratching out a lot of context, because in the Hebrew Bible, they're consistently described as being specifically messengers of God.
Yeah.
There's no other context for this term being used. The original texts make clear that these figures are doing the job of performing God's tasks. And they make a very clear thing that they're not doing independent work. They're not independent entities. They don't have their own personalities.
Right.
They are literally just like God's worker bees or whatever.
They're not a mailman, they're not. Have you ever played the video game The Messenger?
No.
Do you know that one? That's a good game. I think you would like that.
You just deliver packages?
No, it's a very good game. You're a ninja and you're given a specific something like a note or a message to deliver, and it's just like a side-scrolling sort of 8-bit sort of feeling retro style game, but it's modern and it's very good.
I'm gonna assume it's that game like that one where Norman Reedus walks funny for like a lot of the game.
Sure, that's exactly what I've described. 8-bit side-scrolling.
I mean, you can make an 8-bit thing look like Norman Reedus, probably.
Probably. So these are specifically what you're saying here is, if in context this term it specifically means message of God and nothing else.
Yeah, and there's no description of these angels being outside of the context of them being a sort of intermediary between God and Earth. When they mesh, like one of the more like one of the translations that often gets used is like angel of the Lord, and they emphasize that the divine message, so like that these are like the mouthpieces of God himself. Then ancient aliens people will just isolate the translation of messenger and deliberately omit like all of those other qualifications about like who they are and what they serve. And so it's like to give it like less of a supernatural aspect to it so that they can then reinterpret it through like an alien lens. So that's the main little bit there.
As they want to do.
But the term like that we use here implies specifically a servant relationship. And they are known to be carrying out these different directives. There's nothing in the Hebrew Bible that suggests anything that looks like, that they were like of extraterrestrial biology or technological superiority. Right. And as we mentioned previously, like ancient people might have lacked like the terminology to talk about advanced technology, but we have evidence to show that like people can see advanced technology that they don't understand and still describe it in terms that you are clearly show that it is like the thing that they're talking about. So
right.
This again, they're sort of intentionally scrubbing like words around things and taking the meaning out of its linguistic things, and kind of hoping that like the general readership doesn't know a whole lot about Hebrew or the Hebrew Bible to lean on this idea. It's basically selective translation, which is another super common tactic used here. And then it kind of like takes away like again like it's like if you had some kind of like ancient writing, like say like a million years from now, of somebody talking about hitting somebody up on Messenger on their phone, and then they'd be like, they talked to a messenger.
Yes, they safeguarded this piece of writing with this messenger who delivered it post haste,
Mr. Zuckerberg,
to this other individual, Mr. Zuckerberg.
And so. Yeah, the key question that this always brings up when like you say like aliens are like, oh, these are messengers, that means aliens. Like, messenger of who?
Say the whole thing.
Yeah,
you got to say the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like the first context we got. The second is angelos, Greek.
Greek,
which refers to messengers in the spiritual realm that serve a deity's will, but actually. And as you can probably guess, angelos is the source of our word for angel. The thing, though, is that actually Greek has a much more literal meaning. Like messenger, angelos, was like the actual word for messenger. Okay. Like somebody who sent messages could be called an angelo.
Gotcha.
That kind of
like
thing.
A mailman, like a paper boy. Another good game.
Yeah. And so you find actually in Christian writings that early on, these aliens, or that they called like Greek Christians, wrote about angelos, which referred to both messengers of God or just like people.
Just like a thing, like a job you have, or
or like a spiritual, like a sort of spiritual messenger or something like that.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But it is like literally talking about the, like, it doesn't talk, it's not a thing you are, it's a thing you do. That's like, I guess, the bigger difference that sticks out. And so ancient Greeks and early Christians wouldn't have written about like angels if they were talking about aliens, because it's literally like they're angeling. Angeling means that they're messaging. They're doing divine messaging.
Yeah, that's just that's I get. So what you're kind of
saying, and the term can be applied
like
to people.
Yeah, it's just a thing that people could do. So it's not like a weird unique thing. Like, whoa, angelos, it's a brand new term. It's like, no, that's just a thing that you can do, that anyone can do. So why does it have to be aliens?
Yeah, exactly. So the contemporary understanding that these messengers were fulfilling, basically the idea at the time is that they were like, these are people like, it's kind of like saying like, it's like the version of like, oh, this person's doing God's will, or like, this person's like they're like the idea at the time in ancient Greece, or in like a sort of early Christian Greece, they understood that messengers were servants fulfilling God's will, or a God's will, even in like, pre-Christian times. But they didn't really reference like independent entities. So it's a function. That's yeah. And then the thing then is that they then talk about this in other contexts. But you can already see though that like angelos in like the Greek context and in the Hebrew context, while there are some very like you can tell like in the past, like in ancient Greece before Christians showed up, that angelos would have had like a very specific idea attached to it. They literally had a messenger god, like what's it called, Hermes and stuff like that. But and literally had like little angel wings on its feet and stuff. And then Christianity comes to Greece, or at least the Greek-speaking world, and the Greeks take the term
Right.
and take like the sort of the this term from the Bible of like these messengers, and the terms kind of merge together to become what we think of today, right? But the thing is, like, but what they would say, what ancient aliens would be like, it's like these are two different cases, two separate cultures that had this concept of an angel, of like a messenger from above, and it's like, no, it's like one literally like transformed because of the other. And if you like were in ancient Greece, they would refer to it like, oh, angels are like, a person who is doing a god's will or something like that. So
yeah, this is, I mean, language is always evolving and being influenced by other cultures, other languages. It's a very fluid thing, and that's what's really fun about it. But it's also one of those things where it is easy and lazy to take it out of context and just sort of be like, no, these two, it meant two different cultures meant it differently, and that's interesting and that's weird, and that's obviously means aliens, but it doesn't.
Yeah, so then they say like, oh, and there's a bunch of other cases too that I decided to also dig up. So one is the Ilu, which is an important one for certain cultural references, because in ancient Akkadian people, not the people who live, not the French people from New Brunswick, but Akkad, like an ancient Mesopotamia. Ilu messengers were minor deities who served higher gods, so they were like kind of like lesser gods. The term Ilu in Akkadian means God.
Okay.
So basically, when they're saying like, look at these Ilu messengers, it's like, yeah, God. They're like, look at these gods. Like, it's not really like there's nothing too special. Yeah. And in the sort of Mesopotamian divine hierarchy, Ilu messengers were like loyal servants that functioned like they're sort of like the servants of like the higher gods. There was like a hierarchical structure of like the gods had like a sort of like feudal structure of their own. These were the lowest.
It's a pyramid scheme. Yeah, I get it. You gotta. Gods had a certain downline, and then they had like some of them were diamond or black diamond or double black diamond. So they could really, reap those benefits of having a really strong downline, and it's because they did all the hard work, and they're not lazy.
You know how I know you live near mountains?
Tristan, like, apropos of nothing, could I interest you in some LuLaRoe yoga pants?
Yeah. Scott lives like literally a stone's throw from like Appalachia, so like there's mountains like right there. So I imagine skiing is part of it exists. It's a factor for you. Maybe not you specifically.
If it does, I don't think so. I mean, maybe it does. Not in our area.
Is it part of the Lark? Not really. Okay. Well,
not in Virginia, but what do I know?
You were like just barely not West Virginian.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So these figures acted as like, the thing is that the lower down gods also tended to be the closer gods to Earth and the ones that were closer to humanity. So very often they were more like middlemen between like the actual big powerful gods and the sort of gods of the world, which again, like all of these cultures were in dialogue with each other. So the similarities very much like are not accidental. This is like, like literally like the Hebrews spent a decent amount of time in like regions where like the Akkadians used to be. Like there's in ancient like Persia and stuff like that. Like there was a lot, and people were trading all around this region. So like these ideas definitely spread and definitely like are like informing each other. I guess the big thing.
Hey, I'm sorry to whoever's editing this, but I just realized why you brought up skiing. I was like, why are we talking about skiing all of a sudden? It's because normal people hear terms like black diamond and double black diamond, and they think of that as a skiing term. I think of that as a multi-level marketing term.
Okay.
That's why I was saying the gods had a hierarchy and a good downline. And
I just thought you were saying like really like in like in the culture skiing terms. That I was like, okay, I don't know anything about skiing.
I don't know anything about skiing. I have brain rot from multi-level marketing.
Oh boy, that's a good one.
That we were. That is so funny. How
Look, words disconnected. Look, it's a live demonstration of the exact thing we were talking about here.
This is perfect. Yeah. This is exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so like one example of like a messenger Ilu was somebody named Usmu, who was sort of the messenger to the deity Ea. And you also saw groups like the Sumerian goddess Ninshubur, who would be this kind of role as a faithful servant and the go-between for the goddess Inanna. I just want to see how, I mean, for all the Akkadians in the audience, sorry. For all the ancient Babylonians who listen to this show.
No, yeah. Don't apologize till we know.
But there's nothing suggesting that they were like again, it's just like, this is like, this doesn't, like, there's nothing... I feel like I drove myself insane writing this because I'm just like doing a bunch of information and I'm like, and then I just stopped to be like, literally nothing here makes me think aliens or would make anybody like, I can't even think of like what people would mistake except for the fact that like,
yeah, you're exactly right. All they're really doing is they're just taking these terminologies, these terms, and they're not even connecting them to aliens. They're just saying, yeah, I mean, in this culture, it was called this. And in this culture, in this religion, it was called this. But what does this have to do? How are you drawing the line from messenger to alien unless you've already come with this preconceived notion that there couldn't be any other possibility that messenger means alien?
Yeah. If I remember, like, they tried to make the argument that these societies all had independently developed these things, but it's like, so far we're dealing with modern day Iraq, Greece, and like Palestine. So like, you know,
yeah,
3 civilizations that are not exactly that far away from each other and would very easily have traded with each
Absolutely.
other. And like, you know, had a lot of deep connections. Then like, yeah, the reason I really brought this one up though is because this is where the Assassin's Creed comes from. So
hit me with it.
In Assassin's Creed, there's a civilization known as the Isu, which are also called the first civilization or the precursors, that are like this superior humanoid species that lived on Earth 77,000 years ago. This is some real Graham Cock shit right here.
In Mass Effect terms, these are your Protheans.
Yeah. Common sci-fi trope.
Mm-hmm.
And that they then engineered humanity as a labor force. Interesting. Zechariah, is that you? Is Zechariah Sitchin hiding in here? Are they making the mine Earth gold?
Ooh. Anunnaki?
Yeah. Well, they engineered humans as this thing, and then they designed them to be compliant and controllable to maintain dominance. And the Isu then developed powerful artifacts called the Pieces of Eden. For the record, I've never played an Assassin's Creed game
Pieces
before,
of Eden I do recognize from Bryce telling me about it. Yeah. So this is an old piece of lore.
Yeah, this is the best lore of Assassin's Creed that Wikia has to offer.
This is good.
Yeah, then the humans and Isu had a war, and because some humans became immune to the control of the Pieces of Eden, then they rebelled.
Okay.
And then some of those figures that led the uprising were like Adam and Eve.
Awesome. And
that led to a long war between them, and then a big catastrophe, a solar flare, devastated the Earth and led to the near extinction of both of them.
Okay.
And the Isu started to decline. And then the other, the advanced technologies became the foundation of myths and legends. And then, the Greeks and Egyptians and Norse have, interpreted Isu as, their gods and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And so...
That's awesome,
That's how...
Remember when this franchise was just about, being stealthy and, killing people? That was cool.
Yeah. So one thing I do know about Assassin's Creed is it's about a fight between assassins and Templars, and basically what they fight about is the discovery and use of Isu artifacts.
Cool. I actually have never beaten an entire Assassin's Creed, so they all could have been like this from the beginning, I think. I would not know. I played a little bit of the first one and the second one, and I thought it was fun.
I have a more fun.
And that's the end of it.
Yeah. So when looking at some of their other examples of messengers from above, they reference in the Egyptian Rekhit, or Hreet, or however that pronounces. And when I looked it up, I found out that it isn't even a term that means messenger. It usually is. It's depicted as a bird, but it's commonly a reference to just common people.
Okay, just like just folks.
Yeah. It's just people from the Nile Delta region. And then eventually it became a symbolic term for just the general population of Egypt.
Okay.
But the thing is that they went with is that oftentimes the pictorial representation of this term, like the people of Egypt, became this bird with its wings outstretched towards a star.
Okay.
And that they interpreted as, that there's the messenger, that's the bird pointing towards the star. That's space. That's a space. That's an alien.
If you even think about a bird in an ancient civilization, guess what? It's not actually a bird. It's an alien. That's what we've learned from doing this podcast. When people talked about birds or did descriptions of birds or depicted them in art in any capacity, those weren't birds. No one cared about birds. Birds didn't even exist back then. Birds were made up by the government. All the birds in the past were aliens. That's what I've learned.
And so you can imagine the Egyptians made a very big misstep by having a picture of a bird, but also pointing towards a star. Ooh, don't it?
Oof.
That's there you go.
Yeah.
That's an alien. Another one that came up that I think is very fun is the term yazata, which is the term meaning of worship in ancient Persian. And these were divine beings who specifically served Ahura Mazda CX-5. That's a joke apparently I wrote back on St. Patrick's Day when I wrote this. And I'm like, you know what? It's great. No notes. Ahura Mazda CX-5. Yep. But yeah, the term Yazata is from the Avestan language and Zoroastrianism, which is sort of the religion of like ancient Persia. And it means
we've made an episode about Zoroastrianism.
Oh yeah. They're a common thing, and they still exist. The word literally means worthy of worship, and Yazatas are sort of these spiritual beings who serve Ahura Mazda. They function in the same way. And the thing is, like, this is also not surprising because we see a bunch of stuff from Zoroastrianism in the Abrahamic faith. Like, again, all of these religions all existed in the same time, in the same place, and traded with each other. So they all kind of cribbed off each other's notes. And so there's a lot of like common things. But yeah, there's some examples examples of these are like Mithra and Anahita or Sraosha. And these are people whose job is to convey prayers from humans. And then they kind of have, this is where like the guardian angel figure kind of comes from. They would protect people.
Oh.
And
I getcha.
And yeah, they're referred to as having kind of like, heavenly angelic features and such. So like a lot of like our imagery of angels does have some origins in like this Zoroastrian stuff, like a lot of stuff in Zoroastrianism. That's where the zodiac signs come from too. Fun fact.
I feel like there used to be a lot more movies about guardian angels and things like that. Like not necessarily supernatural.
All in the outfield.
Yeah, they're in the outfield.
What's that one where? What was that movie where? What's his name? The Scientologist guy who was in Greece.
Tom Cruise?
No, the other Scientologist guy who was in Greece. Actually, he wasn't even in Greece.
Oh.
Freaking John Travolta.
John Travolta.
There was a movie where John Travolta was an angel, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. What's the one about with the ice angel is it Ice Angel or something like that? I remember a movie like that. Ice Angel, the story of Matt Clark, a male hockey player who dies in a game due to an accident caused by the angel Alan. That caused the hockey player to die when he was
Alan?
Sorry, what was that?
Alan?
Alan the angel, yeah.
Angels have names like, like Gabriel, Azazel, and like Balthazar, and then you get...
Yeah, Alan.
You
get Alan. You get Alan the angel. I remember this movie. I feel like this movie unintentionally had some hopefully positive impacts on people's lives. Like it feels like what I've heard my trans friends call an egg crack moment, because basically this hockey player dies in this movie, not supposed to, and they're like, we'll put you back into a body, but not your body because you're dead, so we'll put you into the girl body and you can be an ice princess, and you can be ice princess, an ice angel. Ice Princess is a different movie. So it's just like, it's literal. It's a guy becomes a woman. That's awesome. And I don't think it was meant to be a trans allegory, but I bet some people watched it were like, this is speaking to me. And it's all because of the angel Ellen.
And the one I picked was John Travolta's 1996 comedy film Michael.
Okay.
Where he plays an angel who is renting an apartment. Awesome. And apparently had a musical score composed by Randy Newman.
This
got a friend in me.
You got a friend in me.
That's a really big follow-up to Toy Story right there. Okay. Okay. So that's our bit on 90s angel movies. There was a lot of them because that was Angels in the Outfield.
Yeah.
Wasn't there one?
Well, Ice Angel was 2000,
was
but yeah, it's in that era for sure.
Yeah. So this is what happened. A lot of these different messengers had the god part taken out. And then specifically in ancient Babylonian stuff, the Anunnaki, who are sort of part of that, as a term for those from heaven came to earth. And then Zecharia Sitchin picks it up and goes, well, what if that's aliens? So that, earth gold and all that kind of stuff. Because Anunnaki literally translates to princely seed or princely blood, depending upon how blue you want to go. And turn it into a species of alien. The Book of Enoch has a discussion of a spiritual journey that then gets recontextualized as a literal alien abduction, which happens also a lot in spiritual stuff. They take something that is spiritual, metaphorical, and is actually, no, it's literal, but not in the way that an evangelical would say it's literal, in a way that it was a science fiction.
Yeah. And
then also the other part too is anachronisms, taking something that was written thousands of years ago, like Ezekiel's vision of the wheels within wheels, or the Vimanas. And then because I think this is the part that we always try to bring up over and over is people if I were to draw the Kimbaya airplane is always a really good example because it's a picture of a bug or a fish or something. I think it's a fish. But the thing is the person who made the Kimbaya airplane didn't know what an airplane was, but did know what a fish was. So when they made a sort of stylized fish, if they had made it today, people would be like, that fish kind of looks like an airplane. You should do it different. But they didn't have the image of an airplane in their head. So they just ended up making a fish.
They're just that looks like a really funky fish. I like your funky fish.
Yeah. And that kind of stuff comes up when you talk about the wheels within wheels and all that kind of thing. It references, it kind of sounds like some UFO stuff that we think of today. But one, we don't think about how much of our inspiration for that was inspired by these, cart before the horse. And the other one is how, Ezekiel wouldn't have known what a UFO was. So he couldn't have been that description doesn't sound like a UFO to me.
Yeah. He wouldn't have been hold on, that feels a little too much like aliens. Let me change it because these weren't aliens. So let me figure this out.
Yeah. And if it was if Ezekiel had actually seen a UFO, we would have Ezekiel knew what metal was. He would talk about them hovering. There's a lot of descriptions that wouldn't have been a fiery thing that wheels within wheels that talked to me and told me about how bad how mad God is at us because we're not being holy enough. And I heard that half of the Old Testament of the Bible is God spoke to somebody and said, we're not being holy enough. And I'm warning you all about it. And then they didn't listen. And then God did something really nasty to them. And then 1,000 years passed. And then another prophet shows up and says the same thing.
It's basically, when you're, this is sort of the weird divide you're taught as a Christian, as opposed to someone who grew up in the Jewish faith, where when you're a Christian, you're sort of taught that the Old Testament is a lot of God being angry and vengeful and kind of mean. And then the New Testament is that's the fun one. That's the good one who loves us, actually.
He had a kid and he really mellowed him out.
Yeah.
And then, just the other parts too is there's no references to anything that would have been necessary for these communications to happen, like translation devices, comm systems, or any of the necessary technologies that would exist for extraterrestrial visitors, like spacesuits.
Sure.
Or there would have been other things that would be described that also fit in. So it feels very. This episode, I know it feels like I'm kind of trying to climb up a sheer cliff because this feels like one of those episodes where there's no there. This is one of the more it's very much there's a lot of time, and this happens a lot on this show, is they make this claim and they're very confident about it. But if you do
Anything.
like 20 seconds of research, there's just nothing that actually seems out of the ordinary at all. And you're just like, okay, where does this even go?
It's
You know,
they
like,
have to fill so many episodes, and it's still going, and this
still
is
going. It's gone longer than what's it called? Longer than Grey's Anatomy now.
I think Grey's Anatomy's still going. So I
thought it
don't
was
think
ending.
anything official has been announced that it's ending, but it is.
Oh,
It is. The characters keep leaving. Even more characters even the new ones they introduced were the interesting ones keep leaving. So anyway.
it's getting some season 9 of Scrubs vibes.
Yeah, but this is season 22 of Grey's Anatomy. It's ridiculous.
Jeez.
But yeah, no, this feels like one of those things that they would say, and they just say it because no one's gonna check them, and they move on to the next thing, and they just have to make content. They just have to keep making content.
Yeah, and as you know, when you have to make a lot of content in a short amount of order, you cut corners and you get lazy. So like,
why would I know that? Why did you say as you know?
Because
why did you look me directly in the eyes and say as you know, Scott, based on your videos? That's what you said.
Both
to
of
me.
us are okay. Both of us are content creators. And that like, and this is like, maybe this is like too real for the people in the audience or whatever, but like, there's a pressure. Like the pressure is never to make the videos better, more accurate, stronger. It's always make them faster.
Make
and
more. Make them
for,
more. Make
for,
more of them.
Yeah, for people who like paying their bills and don't care about a lot of things, don't care about ethics, it's very easy for them to cut corners and make mistakes and get messy, but not in the fun Miss Frizzle way, but like in the like misrepresent things kind of way.
It's probably it's probably so much, and I know it's a different field. You and I aren't in this space at all in terms of content creation, but like I have to wonder, like the people that just do videos that are just meant to be entertaining and not have to do any research. Like, like I watch some people who just play video games in a fun way. And I'm like, gosh, that must be nice. Like, I'm glad. I know it's hard to grow a niche, to grow an audience in that space, but like once you have it, I'm just like, gosh, that must be so nice to not have to feel the specific type of pressure that you and I do. I'm sure it's a pressure in a different way to like be entertaining and to be on, but it's like to not have to do research for every video. Gosh, that must be nice.
You know who I think has the best gig, even though I imagine the guy works super duper hard, but he genuinely like, it's Jazza, the Draw with Jazza guy.
Okay. I don't know if I know this.
Because all he does is like, hey, I'm like a really talented artist, and I'm just going to find a piece of art in like a new medium that I think is cool, and I'm going to make a video of me making that thing and being really good at it. And it's just him being an artist who makes things that he wants to make and then making videos about it, and people love it. But it means that he like masters like all sorts of new art forms constantly. But God. Yeah. Don't think about his brother though. His brother's a piece of shit. But anyways, but he's it's like that's the dream, right? So let me like give some context here. So there is many different religious, like it's not uncommon because stars and like the sort of sky and everything like that the divine heaven is always treated as being upward towards the skies because before streetlights, nighttime, the sky turned into the most amazing show ever seen. And like,
oh my God,
yeah. And so they built a lot of myths and ideas about it. And then when you have like there's these beings that affect our lives but are very far off, they would then build these like ideas of like, well, how do we talk to them? How do they talk to us? And then the idea of intermediaries showing up, and they become these kind of cultural expressions of basically a cosmic order, divine communication. The idea of like, this is how, like, if the gods are all the way up there, how do they talk to us? They have messengers, and that these messengers are able to go between the two worlds and do that. It's a very natural like kind of next step, and you can see that like there's like lots of iconography of these messengers, but there's nothing like technological. It's just like a cultural aspect. Like again, it's like if like you would need something like basically if you were to make the kind of claims that like it was a space alien or something like that,
Yeah.
you would need something more concrete. Like if we were to even and something like even if it like even looked really convincing, it would have to be something that is like with great evidence, like high degree of evidence. Like if we went and found a Babylonian text
Right.
that referred to the Doom Scroll, we wouldn't think that they had ancient cell phones. You would probably think the Doom Scroll probably was referring to something different than that.
Yeah, probably just some sort of, I don't know. I imagine some nice
Indiana Jones
fan
would be after that
fiction
shit.
about Doom, about the video game Doom. We're talking about a lot of video games today.
The ancient people did have Doom, because Doom can run on everything, including like those ancient like abacus.
They can run on, what's that city we talked about that is a computer, quote unquote, that people think is that the ancient aliens thought was a computer.
Teotihuacan.
Yeah, Doom can run on Teotihuacan.
Yeah, and the thing is that if you look in all of these different contexts, they all have very different developed ideas of what they are. And if you were like, this is like, if I were to look for ancient aliens, I would see like smoking guns in there being like really distinct commonalities that like are very unambiguous. But like even with these cultures that were very much in contact with each other, like the Mesopotamians, their messengers had two faces. Oftentimes they'd be like chimeras or like various things like that. And then, in the Jewish tradition, angels in the Torah are like, inhuman monsters that have like bajillions of eyes and all sorts of things.
Love it.
There's a really developed like because like rabbinical tradition, like Judaism is a very scholarly religion, so they've had lots of like lots of rabbis have written elaborate theology and stuff over the years, and like they have there's an entire like angel cinematic universe. Like Maimonides wrote in the 12th century a hierarchy something called the Mishnah Torah, which outlines like that there's like the Chayot HaKodesh, Ophanim, Erelim, Hashmalim. But like the thing is, these things show up in like relatively recently. And so that's the way they write about them. And they're like, inhuman, they don't look anything like people.
No.
Then there's the angels we know of today, which is sort of you take that Hebrew idea of angels, slap on the Greek and Greco-Roman ideas of like angelos, and you end up with like the dude with wings, like Justice, based on like the goddess Justice or God Justice, goddess. And like the cherubim kind of based on Cupid. And you end up with like a lot of stuff like this, like depictions of the devil having a pitchfork is a reference to like Neptune / Poseidon, and like all these kind of like adoption of like pagan, like Greco-Roman, because like basically there was a point where Christianity took over the Roman Empire, and they attached a lot of like imagery that was associated with like power and divinity that was big in Rome, then attached it to various parts of Christianity as like a way to, as like artistic melding.
Yeah.
And Christians still developed their own sort of like angel lore. They didn't have 12, or they didn't have like the sort of like the 10 ranks that the Jews did. They had 3 triads.
Okay.
So like seraphim, cherubim, thrones, dominions, virtues, powers, principalities, archangels, and angels. Like those sound fairly familiar, don't you?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, definitely. I think so.
And then I also looked into this, and it turns out like I looked into Muslims, because Muslims believe in angels as well, but theirs don't have like a sort of structured hierarchy. They actually have like they basically have like a smaller group of angels that are like they all have specific jobs.
Okay.
So you have Jibril, who is basically like the Muslim version of Gabriel, who is the messenger, the one who famously in Islam dictated the Quran to Muhammad.
All right, cool.
For a period of a month, like actually when Muslims observe Ramadan, that's them observing the month that like Jibril dictated the Quran to Muhammad and he wrote it all down.
Oh my gosh, I can talk.
This is why Arabic is like this is why Arabic and classical Arabic is such a big deal in Islam, because they believe that like Jibril, like that the angel spoke Arabic, and that like basically like Arabic is like the language of heaven, and so they
Yeah.
like the difference between like Muslims and Christians when it comes to like the canon, like the Bible or their word, is that like Christians kind of I understand that what they're seeing is something written by humans with like inspiration in different sort of interpretations and like reimaginations and stuff and translations. It's a huge part of the Christian thing. Like the fact that a good chunk of the New Testament is the same story written several times with different details is like an example of that. Muslims take a very different stance to that. Muslims believe that like the Quran as written in classical Arabic is like the word that was dictated by an actual angel and is like, like the thing, and like changing that, like translations are considered like lesser adaptations of like the true thing, which is why one of the and that led to a very interesting thing, which is that the Islamic world was able to have so much more cultural exchange because as an important part of their faith, understanding the Quran meant that like to understand it properly, you had to understand Arabic. And so Arabic became like a very good like lingua franca for the region.
Interesting.
I hate and on top of that,
I was gonna say I hate to make this comparison, and I don't mean to do it in a jokey or insulty way, but like it sounds similar to Mormonism, right? Isn't that sort of how the Book of Mormon?
In the sort of canonical story about the Book of Mormon, they believe that the Book of Mormon was dictated by an angel to Joseph Smith. Yes, and probably most likely Joseph Smith was inspired by the story of Muhammad
when you were talking about it.
Yeah, it would not surprise me. Joseph Smith was like, he was a lot of things. He was well read.
I feel we've joked about Mormons occasionally on this show, but I feel like sometimes it's definitely a point where we're just like, all right, we've joked about the Mormons enough. So I wasn't trying to bring it up in a jokey way.
I'm on the record of being a person who makes an earnest attempt to be nicer to Mormons than the internet is usually. But that's Jibril, probably the most important angel in Islam. There's also Mikhail, who's like the nurture and nourishment, but Archangel Michael, Israfil or Raphael, who is the herald of the Day of Judgment, because Islam has its own sort of version of Revelation and the end of times and all that kind of stuff. There's Azrael, the angel of death, who everybody probably knows better from the wonderful expansion to Diablo 3.
I was going to say became Batman.
Reaper of Souls.
Yeah, I was going to say Azrael became Batman for a little bit.
Well, you're seeing where like a lot of fiction gets its names from. Kiraman Katibin, which is the recorders of human deeds, and Munkar and Nakir, who are the questioners in the grave. So, Islam has its own angels and its own things. Then
title. I want to know more about that. Questioners in the grave. Interesting.
Yeah, it's true. So they have like well-defined roles, but there's not like a formal hierarchy in Islam.
Gotcha.
And of course, you have modern day depictions of angels like what's his name?
Alan
Castiel,
like Alan from Ice Angel,
Alan Michael Castiel, where now they are for Tumblr teens to crush on.
I gotta get more Alan fan cams. Can we get more Alan the Angel fan cams from Ice Angel, please?
Ice Angel fan cams. Oh God. Okay, so that was enough of you being happy. So why don't we take the mood down a little bit?
Oh, let's see if I can.
And talk about how.
No, go for it. Finish your thought, and then I'll hit the sting.
Okay, about how these are bad and associated with bad things.
Right. I found the button.
Okay, so this one I'm reaching a little bit for this one, so forgive me. But there's a lot of times where you're looking at the past, looking at depictions in ancient cultures, and then actively misinterpreting them and doing revision in order to promote some kind of a thesis about the world today. Big one being the Anherba, i.e. the Nazi friggin' archaeology group that was led by Heinrich Himmler that basically did a bunch of really bad archaeology to try and make the claim that their racist ideology was true, and that it meant that intentionally mistranslating and misinterpreting. This is why understanding things properly and in context is important. I'm also working on a YouTube video right now about Hindu nationalism. And Hindu nationalists often do this with Sanskrit texts to make claims that there was ancient technology in this like pre-lapsarian mystical past of India before the Muslims came and ruined it all, and is used to sort of, pseudo-scientifically or pseudo-historically delegitimize Muslims, like, right to be in India, and often used to promote discrimination and hatred against Muslims in India.
Yikes. No good.
And you're from Virginia, at the core of another place, because there's a place called Richmond not too far away from you.
There is a place called Richmond.
Yeah, where they practice another form of historical revisionism, where they intentionally misinterpret past events to make a modern political argument. And that is the lost cause myth, where they try to talk about how a certain short-lived country called the Confederate States of America had reasons for doing what they did that did not involve the owning of other people based on their skin color.
Interesting. Wait, is Richmond specifically is
Richmond was the capital of the Confederacy.
Oh, I was gonna say, because we have friends in Richmond and we visit them, and I would say it's quite the opposite vibe of what you're describing there, just in terms of the overall people and whatnot. But that is interesting to know.
Yeah. If you do go to Richmond,
which I do.
If you are in a mood for a very, very strange day, go take there's a tour you can take of Jefferson Davis's White House, which was basically, Jefferson Davis was the president of the Confederacy, and
Gotcha.
his White House during the war was in Richmond, and the tour of it has a certain relationship with history. I will say.
Fascinating. Yeah, I can't say I've done that tour when I've visited my friends. I think the most we've done is we've walked around. They've got a cemetery that has some old historic people in it that I don't remember. But all the big names that you know of, like from the historical past, that are there are like not even the cool, interesting part of the cemetery. It's all the people that you haven't heard of that I'm like, oh, that's a cool story. That's an interesting. Yeah. They have a cryptid, I think, in that cemetery, which is also fun.
So yeah, when you go to Richmond, you go to see your friends. When I go to see extremely problematic.
You go to see your enemies.
You go to see I go to get mad at. I get to go to get mad at like history undergrads who are just like looking for a summer job.
I normally go to in the past, the last times I've been to Richmond are to go to weddings, and that's been fun. And I can't say that I have spent the time poking and prodding my friends who live there about, hey, what's all this stuff about the Confederate States of America? You guys got to tell me more about that and your beliefs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and going back to I was about to say going back to ancient Richmond, but like you see this everywhere. Like even like my most recent trip to, I think it was Monticello, and I was like, they had some very interesting things to say about people that Thomas Jefferson owned.
That's an interesting point. Emily.
Oh, I think I went when I went to go see for your wedding.
That's
we took a day
exactly
to go see Monticello.
Right. Emily and I were considering small, like long weekend vacations around us, and one of the ones that is always recommended is like a Monticello wine tour. We're not going to that, but I didn't even, in my head, I was like, ooh, fun wine. And then I'm like, wait a minute, it's Monticello. That's got some history to it.
Wine in Monticello is probably like one of the least offensive things you could do there. So,
all right.
But yeah, that's like and honestly, like it basically just kind of goes between, my guess is that they probably have made some recent editorial changes to Monticello based on the new regime and the source of their funding. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, it's just wine now, and that's what it's always been. And it was, I think, made in the last 2 years. Was Monticello just sprung up in the last 2 years, and there's nothing else about it.
Monticello, first written about in the play Hamilton.
That's right. A quick little
Yeah,
reference.
but basically it's just saying, hey, oh, and also just recently the reinterpretation of the January 6th attempt at a coup as just a protest. That's another, example of a more recent one. But basically when you start with the political statement you're trying to say about the world and then go back to try and force evidence to fit a predetermined conclusion, you're going to make all sorts of weird claims about things. And you end up with, you end up erasing our culture. You end up creating and sowing distrust in academic expertise or evidence-based reasoning, like your current head of Health and Human Services, who recently swam in raw sewage with his children.
I don't, and I know it's accurate, but I don't love how you always say, "Oh, it's your guy."
Well, he's not mine. He's not.
I know he's not yours, but I don't want to claim him either.
We got a weird. Our guy is a weird central banker who just today was like, we can build a bunch of new houses, but also and make them affordable, but also not make house prices go down. And everyone's like, "How are you going to do that, Mark? Hey, Mark, how are you going to do that?" Also, our leader's name is Mark, which I feel like just feels kind of wrong somehow.
Yeah, ours is Donald, which I don't think people talk about enough. People just talk about
Donald
his
and Mark.
They just talk about his last name a lot, and I don't think people really emphasize that his name is Donald, and that is goofy.
Like the duck.
Yeah, well,
His name is Donald, and that is goofy.
I guess it wouldn't be goofy. That's the other one.
Was that? I thought that was intentional.
It wasn't, but I heard it when I said it.
Oh my god. Yeah, so and also as we mentioned on the show before, that's also really big to talk about with these kinds of things. Even though this might seem like a little like minor thing, like, oh, like what's wrong with believing that angels were aliens, like, aliens in the outfield, that kind of thing. The thing is that this is your first, if that's your first point of departure from reality, it makes it easier for your next point of departure from reality. And right now we're in a point where people are departing from reality
we gotta latch on to the little bits of reality that we have that we feel confident in.
Yeah, you really got to like, we're really at a point where like, we really need to take reality seriously and dig onto that. The Southern Poverty Law Center wrote a really good line that explains it, which is that like, the idea that aliens built the pyramids is, it can be funny, but then it gets less funny when it starts convincing young people to websites that quickly switch out aliens for Jews, which is not uncommon, as we have seen on this show. And also just the fact that like, there are Christians that exist that believe in these things and they have spiritual significance. There are Jews that believe in these things that, have significance. There are even Zoroastrians. There's still about 100,000 Zoroastrians in the world who believe this stuff. You're literally like just like attacking their like the core of their spiritual idea. I feel like I'm not throwing a lot of new ideas in this episode, but like the language stuff, I think.
Hey, we've been gone for a while. We gotta we gotta remind people what this show's about. I mean, plus if you start equating angels with aliens, then Alan the angel becomes Alan the alien, and that's a different character. That's a character from Invincible, played by Seth Rogen. And we can't
Alan's also the name of our
two
space
of them.
potato, isn't it?
Al the space potato is also the name of our mascot as well. So we can't confuse all the Als. Alan Thicke was in Ice Angel as Coach Parker. That's another Al.
So I have a new thing I want to introduce in this season. That's a little bit, which is past the part where I make you sad and I say, hey, this is what you should do. One, whenever you hear something that sounds like it's not right, check its original context and see what's going on. Be really wary when you hear modern terminology from ancient descriptions, because that word probably doesn't mean the same thing as it meant back then. One really good example that I always think of is, I want to show you a meme.
No, I'll do it. Oh, yeah. Show me the meme.
And I want you to, I know this is like,
where'd you send it?
Really great audio content.
Cool.
But read the text of this and see if it makes any sense. I'm going to send it on Slack. But tell me if this, read the text. It's a really great meme.
All right, here we go. I got it. All right, I'm looking at a little fancy gentleman, maybe? Yeah. That says, how you think you look when a flashlight is taken. All right. And then a panel next to it in the comic, a little goofy guy that says how you really look.
So I want to tell you, this meme is over 100 years old.
Incredible.
It's from a magazine from the New York City gay scene.
I love it.
And this makes no sense, because what does it mean when a flashlight is taken? And when I looked it up, it turns out
I did get tripped up on that. Yeah.
A flashlight is a term for flash photography in the 1920s. And a flashlight is like sort of like when taking a picture with flash photography was a bit of a novelty.
Photography. People thought that made him look cool, made him look like a little dork.
Yeah, but like that's an example of like, hey, words in other contexts mean different things.
I have a great example of this as well. In my field of comic books, I made a video about it. There's a classic meme of Joker saying he made a boner. He did a boner. And he's gonna hit Batman with the biggest boner he's got. That's a real thing. And it's because boner meant like a prank, meant like a goof, you know? Something like that. Or like you messed up. You did a boner. And it doesn't mean that now. And that's why that comic is funny now.
I love it. I love that stuff. Yeah, look for cherry-picked or partial references. Incomplete sentences are usually the first giveaway that you should take a look at other things in the sentence. And, look for professors, archaeologists, or experts in the area, even people who have PhDs, if they're not related to the field that you're looking into, this could be suspect. Look for people who are who know about the subject matter they're talking about. So, preserve ancient civilizations' achievements, respect cultural meaning and the meaning of religious texts, recognize that manipulation tactics appear in many different forms of propaganda, and that building critical thinking skills is important for understanding modern media consumption. Never forget the house hippo.
The house hippo. Incredible. I will say, just to add on to this, the best resource I had when I was in Bible college was a mandatory book that we all had to get, which was basically just the Bible. It was the Bible, but before each book of the Bible was several pages of historical context of like, this is when it was written approximately, this is who it was written by, we think or we know, and here's when you're reading these passages, this is what it means. It was like extremely enlightening and very helpful to sort of understand the actual context of like the person writing it or the people writing it or the time period and things like that. It's just great. It's good stuff. I feel like I learned stuff in college. I'll say that. I'm not afraid to admit it. I learned things in college.
I've been spending the last couple of years trying to read all of Capital, which is a 3,600 word book, or 3 books actually. It's a trilogy, and I could really use with like that, like. It's what Karl Marx really meant.
It's like did you ever have when you read Shakespeare, you'd have on one page what he actually wrote, and then the other page was like, this is what the characters are actually saying. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the only book I've ever read that has math homework in it.
Well, I will say I'm excited because now that I've seen the house hippo, my algorithm is pulling up a lot of cool stuff from the 90s and early 2000s.
You're gonna have so much knowledge of 1990s Canadian nostalgia stuff.
Oh, I'm getting hit with stuff that I recognize. Chia Pet commercials, Zoo Pals. I know all of these. I'm having a lot of fun over here now. So thank you for that. My algorithm has been just bad, and I needed this. I needed the house hippo. We all do, really.
Yeah, remember the house hippo. The house hippo could be another mascot for this channel, because the house hippo, I think, is very apropos of the, the subject matter we cover.
I like Al the space potato. I don't know if we can get the rights to the house hippo.
Well, the thing is, we might have to diversify, because I did find out that there is a New Hampshire, minor league baseball team now called the Space Potatoes.
The Space Potatoes.
And we're going to have to figure out what to do about that.
All
Okay.
right.
So, but one of the ways that you actually can help diversify our out this went places is by checking out or following us on Blue Sky.
Whoa.
Yeah, we have a Blue Sky. That's probsnotaliens.bsky.social.
Perfect. Rolls
We
off the
should
tongue.
rolls off the tongue. It's the one thing I miss about Twitter. Or you can check out our various other projects, NerdSync and Step Back.
Oh my gosh, Tristan,
Scott,
what are you working on? Oh man, we did it at the same time.
You go first.
I'll go first. As of this recording, I am trying to finish a video about the design of Scooby-Doo. It's very famous lore that the artist who designed all the Scooby-Doo characters, Iwo Takamoto, that like what the traits of a prize-winning show dog like Great Dane are, and then designed Scooby to be the exact opposite. Now we know this is true. He said it. We have video footage of him saying it, but I'm making a video to see how good of a job did he do. So I had to learn about what it takes to judge a prize-winning Great Dane show dog and compare Scooby-Doo against those criteria. And I feel like I learned about eugenics for dogs, and I feel gross. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Are you also saying that Scooby-Doo is an anime?
I guess. Anyway.
Sound off in the comments whether or not Scooby-Doo is an anime.
Is Scooby-Doo an anime? Let me know. Tristan, what are you working on with Step Back?
I've been working on this for like probably like several months now. I'm working on a video about Hindu nationalism. I actually had somebody reach out to me pitching the video back in like last year in April 2024. And I have been like low key working on it ever since. I have one last interview arranged in July with a fucking Berkeley professor.
Nice.
And once that is done, it will be coming out in pretty short order after that. But I think in the meantime, I'm going to be trying to make a smaller project fit between that. And I want to make one specifically. I don't know if this is the guaranteed next one that's high on my list of ones to do, but I want to make one about why I hate strategic voting. Which because I don't know if you know, because I imagine you have no reason to know, but strategic voting royally fucked up the last Canadian election.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's real bad. It's real bad. They basically killed the left-wing party in Canada.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Did
that's
you guys
fun.
also elect Trump?
No,
That's what
we elected.
did.
We live in a country where we had like where the Bernie Sanders wing would have been its own party.
Yeah.
And we actively killed that and elected the like Cory Booker, Hillary Clinton type person.
I did hear about that. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and now I'm like involved enough in like local stuff that I like I know one of the MPs who lost her job, and I'm like, ah, dang, she was really nice. Anyways, you could also go to nebula.tv/probably-not-aliens and check out our show where we put up episodes a week early. And if you go there and sign up for Nebula, you would be directly supporting the two of us, which is always really nice.
Yeah, and that's really great, and that helps out. And we have videos. I have a video on Nebula. If you sign up for at nebula.tv/probably-not-aliens, you get all of Nebula, including a video that I uploaded late for April Fool's Day this year that was so late that I decided to make it a Nebula first for a full year. So you get access to that.
Or even better, like our stuff's great, but also like you want extra footage from like Jacob Geller and like Philosophy Tube and like H Bomber Guy.
Oh my gosh. You just want you want like actual movies,
yeah,
documentaries and plays. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, leave us reviews anywhere you can on your favorite podcast app. Talk about House Hippos. Talk about your favorite 90s nostalgic commercial. I think I wanted to do this
specifically the most trauma-inducing PSA for children that you saw as a
commercial
child.
that made you the way you are. Talk about that in your review. I think every episode I'm going to try and give them a actionable review thing to write about. And tell your friends about the show. If you've already left a review, You still have homework. We'll still give you homework. Tell your friends about the show. It helps us out as well. And a great place to send your friends is a very simple website, probsnotaliens.com. It's got links to everywhere where people can find us. Tristan, we're back, baby.
Yeah, and if you want to support the show, patreon.com/probsnotaliens is also a place to go. But yeah, that's all for today.
Until next time. Sorry, we're so rusty over here.
Yeah, oh boy.
We're struggling.
Until next time, my name is Scott Nicewater.
I'm Tristan Johnson, and the truth is out there. Probably. It's the first time I've done that in like almost a year.
Oh, it feels so good.
Yeah, it feels so good to be.
And look at it. Look at us.
Yeah, it feels like a classic podcast. We've been talking for 2 hours for a 1 hour show, and I am super sweaty. I'm like, yeah, we're back, baby. This is how it's supposed to be.
Baby.